Good to have you here. It is 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, he has been Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. Catch up with us all across the radio network, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. You can find us there, the ESPN app, or you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Go to our YouTube page, ESPN Coastal, there on YouTube, and you can catch everything from 3 and Out, Second Down, and more. So we encourage you to do that. Good to have you along here on the show. We've got a lot to get to here throughout the show. Big 12 Media Days going on, kind of getting this thing kicked off. It's been interesting to kind of see how it's been framed. Mike Gundy saying some stuff. We'll have that coming up in just a little bit. Also, the SEC going to get together. I think that really kind of kicks things off for people, Ben, next week with the SEC. But we'll get to that. Chris Gordy of the Locked On SEC podcast will join us, and more. And of course, the Braves and the Nationals heading into the All-Star break, where, again, Braves with a chance to, I guess, get it back together before they enter the All-Star break after a tough series with the Mets.
And Kevin, that's what you expect, right? I mean, the Nats. I mean, this hasn't been their year this year. Somebody got to be a bottom feeder in the NL East, but I do think this Braves team, you still could take a lot of positives, Kevin, out of that Mets series. Look, the Mets coming in, they had blown a 10.5 game lead, so they was coming in very, very determined to be able to say, look, let's see how we match up against this Braves team. I know this isn't going to decide the division, mid-July. But I do think the Braves are going to bounce back. I know that the star power is starting to come together. Kevin, you mentioned the only runs that came from homers, but you'll take it how you can get it. Rosario is kind of settling in a little bit, coming, not too many weeks removed from coming off an injury. Like I said, help is on the way. I mean, Jansen still did look good, with him coming back and coming off that 15-day DL, and you're going to get Ozzie back. But this is about the Braves going back to their winning ways. Lost one, lost one. They up to win again, and I do think that Kevin D, that winning streak that happened in June, it was just so incredible to do. Can they keep that momentum throughout July? Because, hey, I will say this: the All-Star game was coming at the right time. It is star-studded, but there is one just big-time player that's not in it. First name Austin, last name Riley. Listen, fans, what do you want? Like, literally, like, what do you want? Because Kevin, I know people are going to talk about Matt Olson. I know people are going to talk about Freddie Freeman. But last time I checked, Austin Riley was coming off an MVP type season, and they were saying, "Hey, what's going to be an encore 25 homers before the All-Star break?" And that's before we even get in this series. But I do expect the Braves to get back to their winning ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I look, and you're going up against the last place team. I think that's important to note. You've got Anibal Sanchez going for the Nationals, former Brave, going for the Nationals. It's his season debut, so he hasn't pitched in the majors here in 2022. So actually, I don't think he's pitched in the majors since 2020. So that's who you got going on the other side tonight. You got Kyle Wright, 10-4 in the first half so far. I think the Braves are in a good spot here, as you said, Ben, to turn it around and finish strong. And again, we'll see what the Mets do at this point, but you can finish strong, finish a game and a half out, 2 games out, what have you, going into the All-Star break. You take that because that's striking distance, and a lot of baseball is certainly left. The Braves 30-10 in their last 40 games. That's the best in baseball. So for whatever you want to say about what they did with the Mets, at least at this point, I mean, that obviously can't continue when you play them again, but you're 30-10 in your last 40 games. There's been nobody better than you in all of Major League Baseball. So really off to a good run there. And you just hope you get a little momentum going into the All-Star break. I think last year, Ben, you talk about it, was I'm trying to go back and remember, was the Jock Peterson move right before or right after the All-Star break? But you got a little boost.
I think it was right after, like, because you kept saying what kind of move they're gonna make. Jock Peterson kind of like got everything going. And I remember you was like, okay, that's a nice pickup, because what happens is guys have shown flashes on other teams. But like I said, Alex Anthopoulos put so much pressure on himself, because now everybody expects, hey, man, who we going to get? Because they're going to compare them to Soler, sure, Peterson, and Rosario, rightfully so. But, Kevin, I mean, we haven't talked about it all year. The trade deadline is coming. That's do the Braves get a bat, which you'll take it, or do they get a glove?
I think it's by glove, I guess, arm piece. I think it's probably And this is where I think they're in an interesting spot because they're winning baseball games right now. And it's all about how do you evaluate how you play against the Mets? You only were 1-2. Where do you need to improve? Obviously, Marcell Ozuna can DH. I think you're kind of unsettled in left field. You want to get Rosario playing time. You want to get Duvall playing time. Ozuna can't play out there, but he hits a little bit better as a DH. Do you go out and try to just shore that up with one guy and say, hey, if we can trade a couple of pieces and get a left fielder that can just, hey, we don't need to platoon. You're out there. I think that might be helpful. And then on the bullpen side, I think you're always looking for guys who could come in and be impactful pieces. I feel like your starting rotation's pretty good. Now, Spencer Strider probably gonna need some time off coming down the stretch because he's maxed, he's pitched more than he has, I think, in all of his college or pro career, at least in one season. Is Ian Anderson? Is he a guy that in his third or fourth year now that needs maybe a little break to adjust some things because he's been kind of rough the last few times? Maybe the All-Star Cup break coming at a good time for him as well. So do you need a starter? Do you need somebody that can just provide that back end break for a guy like Spencer Strider and extend those guys? Do you need a bullpen piece? You mentioned rehab stuff. They announced today that it was, and I just lost his name. I had it written down. Started a rehab assignment today that could come in and help the bullpen. I'll get his name coming up here in just a minute. But yeah, I mean, you're going to get some help from guys potentially with injury. No word on Mike Soroka. I don't know if they're counting on him coming back. But you're going to get some help coming up in the second half from guys that are just getting healthy. I mean, can you get Darren O'Day back? He went on the injured list. Is he okay? Will Tyler Matzik kind of return to form, given a little all-star break here? Kirby Yates, that's who I was looking for. Thank you. Kirby Yates starting a rehab assignment. This is a guy that led the American League in saves a couple of years ago. And he's going to be a part of kind of the middle of that bullpen. So I think you're going to get some help. And this is why I think it's very interesting. I mean, if Alex Anthopoulos does nothing, you're going to get some help back. But I think he's got a move or two out there that he's probably trying to work. He's been a master at this. You think about GMs in sports, and you almost think of Alex Anthopoulos at this point as some kind of wizard, where it's like he's just going to make something happen that's going to work, right? We expect his hit rate to be like 1,000, right? Outside of one move or so, most of what he's done has worked out in the Braves' favor, from guys they've traded to guys they've brought in to guys that they've had to plug in and play. Most, not all of it, but I would say since he's been a GM of the Braves, he's probably hitting 80% on some of the moves he's decided to make in terms of even guys he decided to let go. A lot of people are like, you're going to get rid of longer hands in that deal to go to the A's? Or not longer.
Christian Pache
and the catcher. I'm getting all my Braves names running at this point. It's really great. But you give up a top flight catcher in that deal. You say, was that the right move? And it got you Matt Olson. It seems to have worked out. William Contreras coming up has worked out as the backup catcher / DH for you at times. So you've had some moves that have worked out. Getting Will Smith. I know it drives people crazy, but you don't win a World Series without Will Smith last year. So you look at Alex Anthopoulos, and GMs don't normally do the kind of things that he's done.
Yeah.
He's, for the most part, been able to refill the major league roster without totally emptying his top, don't want to get rid of prospects. You didn't get rid of Michael Harris.
Yeah.
You didn't have to do that. You didn't get rid of a Spencer Strider. You didn't get rid of certain guys that you could have in deals that other teams could have wanted. You made it work with maybe your tier B guys in the minor leagues and have been competitive at the. I mean, GMs don't normally do that. I mean, look at the NFL. Terry Fontenot made a bunch of moves. If he hits on 50% of the draft and free agency, people will be going, that dude's a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just if half of them work out. I mean, Alex Anthopoulos made a lot of moves that have been shrewd. At the time, you say, I don't know if that's – I mean, when you get brought over Jorge Soler, you're like, dude's hitting like – I think he was either the low 200s or high 190s with Kansas City. He did not have a great year, and you're going, really? You just traded for a guy that's barely hitting 200? and he comes over and puts forth a month and a half of tremendous baseball. You say, thank you very much, and he moves on. Like, that's something that you can't just foresee happening, right? You can't just say, oh, yeah, we're going to get a guy that's not really having a great season at all. He's going to be an MVP in the an MVP. Eddie Rosario did not play until September of last year. MVP of one of the postseasons here. Who does that? Jock Peterson. You get him in a trade. Jock Peterson's a good player. Was he a focal piece on the team that he was with? No. He was kind of stuck. Braves make a move. They get him. And he becomes an MVP of a postseason series. Like, that kind of stuff just doesn't happen in sports. And I think sometimes you look at Alex Anthopoulos and you just expect it to work. And that's why I say they go, has he been blessed on the overly positive? Is he just some kind of mad scientist back there? Or, like, it's like most people just say, look, whatever he wants to do, man, it seems to work. So I'm going to trust him to go out there and get it done.
Well, no, Kevin. I mean, the biggest thing you got to give Alex Anthopoulos the credit for is the front office that he took over. I mean, the Braves franchise is always attractive. Their front office was not. So you look at what because we haven't even talked about that, like what he inherited, or lack thereof in the front office. But look at what has happened with the pitching staff. How many years was Julio Teheran the opening day starter? You just got used to him being the opening day starter. Mike Foltynewicz was supposed to be the next big one. Both of those guys gone. Ian Anderson up to BJ. He got called up too early. Look at what he's already done. I mean, Max Fried has made you forget all about Mike Soroka because how well he's been pitched. Obviously, you look at Ronald Acuna Jr. is Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, he's about as good. He can be as good as he wants to be. Alex Anthopoulos is responsible for the greatest Braves infield of all time. You don't have to like it. I know it sounds crazy. We just talking about stats-wise, what they was able to do. And he's also responsible for not messing up the Freddie Freeman deal. No, he got it right. Freddie Freeman has shown us. Freddie Freeman has gotten rid of his representation. Come to find out, the representation didn't even tell him. But Matt Olson, solid. Christian Pache, hey man, outside of you wanting to wear, Andrew Jones jersey, it wasn't much to talk about. He's really, really hit. The biggest contract he signed thus far is the biggest in Braves history for 1 year, and that was Josh Donaldson. That's the most money ever given to one player, and he was pretty good. He was pretty good for 1 year. So Kevin, when you can survive what happened last year with Marcell Ozuna, when everybody thought he was no longer going to be, forget being a Brave, he wasn't going to play baseball. That's going away. I mean, all you can say with Alex Anthopoulos is this: if he had Yankees money, because he doesn't, by the way, and he's still getting it done, Moneyball people is happening right in our face, and it worked last year, I believe.
It's a different level. I mean, everybody's doing a different level of Moneyball. I look at that, and a lot of people think when they see the Braves, they're like, "Oh, the Braves ownership is cheap," and you basically think they're like a step away from being like the Pirates or Baltimore's, like they will not spend any money. That's not true. Are they spending Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox money? No, they're not. But they're not near the bottom. They're kind of in the upper middle, I would say. I want to say they were like 10th in payroll. So they spend money. They just aren't spending it in the obscene way that L.A. and New York and the Mets and Yankees, by the way, are doing it as well. We'll come back. We got more to get to. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, thanks for making us a part of your day. Streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com on your mobile device with the ESPN app, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. A lot of college football talk upcoming as SEC Media Days coming up next week. The Big 12, Mike Gundy saying a lot of interesting things about the Big 12. They're moving forward. We'll hear from Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, coming up in hour number 2 as well. But Ben, let's go to the phones quickly. We got our good buddy AC joining us. AC, what's up?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking my call. I want to talk about baseball All-Star game.
Sure.
To be honest, that format itself, the format for the All-Star game, absolutely garbage. Come on now. You could do a little bit better than that. All-Star game, it should be for fun. You're just relaxing, having some fun out there. Monday night, you got home run derby. Tuesday night, you're going to play the game. MLB, you can do better. I think the best record, whoever has the best record, they should get the home field advantage in the World Series. That's the way you should go. Why make everything as a competition? At the end of the day, we all have to have fun. I'm working today, and I'm having fun on air as we're having fun. In life, man, you got to have some fun. You got to be serious. Life is short, dude. Come on now. MLB commissioner, you better do something. I understand money matters, but come on, dude. What, you don't have fun? Oh, man, you can do a lot better than anyone out there. I'm pretty sure Ben and my brother Kevin, they do way better than MLB commissioner and all the commissioners out there. I love you guys. I'll see you, hopefully, God willing, tomorrow.
All right, there you go. AC, appreciate it, folks. Look, I don't think the All-Star game doesn't have to mean anything. It is what it is. I don't like the home field advantage. Look, and this goes back to the whole thing of I'm trying to who's the worst team right now in the big leagues? The Nationals. So it might be. Does Juan Soto right now, who's on the last place Nationals, give a crap if he helps the Mets or Braves or whoever get home field advantage in the World Series? No, he doesn't. He not at all. Does not care. Does not care whatsoever if that happens. So I don't think you need to make it mean anything if you are MLB. Just go out there and have fun. Showcase the talent. That's what it's about. NFL tries to do that, but then they try to make it a flag football game. When
it comes to that, Kevin, I will say this. We always talk about All-Star games and how certain one they just got to keep it on. It's basketball. They're not going to play that well to the last 4 or 5 minutes, and they're going to beef up on the defense. Football, I don't know what that is. Like I don't know what that is. Like that's the only All-Star. East West Shrine ain't like that. Hula Bowl ain't like that. NFLPA Bowl. There's nothing like that. Baseball, it's authentic. Like in a sense, I don't want to be shown up now because All-Star games are bragging right games. Like, we are the best in the bigs.
Sure.
We're going to go out there and show off. But I do agree. If I'm on the last place team, it's not always indicative of the type of player I am individually. It just means that we are not good collectively. You don't believe me? Ask the Angels.
But the
They got
Dodgers,
two of the best in the game.
but the Dodgers don't want Juan Soto determining if they get more games in the American League Park or not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. I will say this: the NBA All-Star game, while they may not play defense in the last few minutes, at least they're showcasing their athletic ability.
Yes.
And where it's like, hey, okay, we're all agreed we're not playing defense, so watch me pull off this 360 windmill dunk from the foul line. Okay.
Yeah. Ain't gonna. There's number one, certain things, Kevin, we shouldn't have to like discuss. Like, there are no hard fouls. If there are, like, for what? Like, if you foul out of an All-Star game, you shouldn't be allowed back. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, there's an MVP of the game, not a defensive MVP. But the thing about baseball that you can't appreciate is, hey, will it be a little bit more off-speed stuff? Maybe. But even if you're a pitcher, you only get, so many innings. You're not even going to be out there that long. I'm going to give you some good stuff, and I'm gone. We want to see some Michael Harris, type catches. We want to see the long ball. We want to see a nice, nice play from a shortstop here or there, and have a little fun, man. At the end of the day, you're the best in the big for a reason. But the best spectacle of any All-Star is the home run derby, because when them cameras are flashing, I mean, you got to enjoy it. Ronald Acuna Jr., go ahead and add to that resume.
Yeah, I think with the Pro Bowl, Ben, to me, it's you can't showcase the talent when you're not like football. You have to play to showcase the ability. Like, hey, what makes Tom Brady and Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers is the fact that they can drive it down the field and put it in a window. Like, in a Pro Bowl, it's like, man, did you see, because 17 quarterbacks backed out, Case Keenum dropped that 50-yard dime when nobody was covering down the right sideline because they quit running 20 yards down the field. Man, that was unbelievable. No. Case
Keenum just threw a touchdown pass to O'Shaq Hennessy because don't nobody want to play in it. It's like, what are we doing? And the thing is, too, Kevin, at the end of the day, people say, oh, no, I don't have to play a sport to know what it's supposed to look like. And they do dodgeball as far as like the festivities leading up to the Pro Bowl, because they know it's going to be bad. Like, dodge. Oh my God, good job. What? Like, come on, man. We played dodgeball when we was kids, man.
I think I'd rather watch that than the Pro Bowl.
The Pro Bowl is a no. Kevin, you want to make the Pro Bowl good? Give it to a bunch of guys that are role players. That give it to a bunch of role playing guys that don't get a lot of playing time, don't get a lot of notoriety. You don't got to worry. They're gonna be out there getting it in, because it's better. And let all the guys that got voted in show up and sign autographs. Because they ain't doing, because that's ridiculous.
They say, "Hey, I'm a Pro Bowl."
When I was my freshman year at Florida, we didn't keep doing it. But to the guys, I didn't get a lot of burn. I was on the Snickers team. For those of you who don't know what a Snickers team is, that means you're not doing something. Grab a Snickers. They really had a basket with Snickers in it at one point too. It was pretty funny. But if you didn't play a lot on Saturday, on Monday, that's the first day back. Really, after they called it Monday Night Football, we'll come out there, man. That's all right. Come on, for about, I don't know, about maybe 2 or 3 series. Oh, we out there getting it in, because you ain't get a lot of playing time. They tell them quarterbacks, listen, y'all got the freshman O-line, so you better get the ball out quick, because they coming. So, hey, but it kept the camaraderie going, and it kind of showed, hey, man, they're trying to give you, if you mess up against a freshman, well, you definitely ain't playing on Saturday. You might want to show a little something on Monday, but yeah, but Pro Bowl, give it to guys that want to play the game, all right? Because if Tom Brady's out there, they can't hit him. Aaron Rodgers, come on, man. Give it to a bunch of receivers that give it to the third receiver. You know what? Give it to the whole Atlanta Falcons receiving core. Not named Kyle Pitts going. You're gonna have Drake London.
Just let them all
play. You're gonna have Brian Ellis.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think, and obviously I think the NFL messed up as well. I mean, one, everybody wants to back out of this thing, but then you moved it to in between the conference championship game and the Super Bowl, knowing that the guys in the Super Bowl aren't playing.
Yeah,
like, they're not even going to be there. They're not even going to show up. They're getting ready for the Super Bowl. And so you diminished your own event. It didn't mean a lot to begin with. And then at least, I would say, 10 guys between the two teams at minimum probably should be Pro Bowls or in the Super Bowl, not even going to be there. And then you're playing glorified two-hand touch. I mean, that's it is what it is. Football's a tough sport. I get it. You don't want to have a torn ACL out there playing in Orlando in January, but you got. I'm just saying. You know what I mean?
Kevin, think about that. You grew up watching the NFL in Hawaii. You seen it. You finally make it. Where we going? Hey, man, we got to go to Hawaii? No, you're going to Orlando. What? In between this, and if you're in the Super Bowl, you're not going to, so somebody goes, so what if I play for Detroit? Listen, you play for Detroit, you ain't got to worry about, you're going to be in the Pro Bowl. You're going to be fine. You ain't got to worry about being in the Super Bowl. But no, Kevin, during the Super Bowl, during the All-Star, the Pro Bowl a week before the Super Bowl makes 0 sense. Like zero. Like that just means, hey man, when God forbid we have one game after the Super Bowl, God forbid the Super Bowl contenders or the champions and the guys they played against don't get to have their moment in the Super Bowl. Come on, man. Nonsense.
Yeah, no, look, I think it's definitely the worst. I don't agree that the MLB needs to put more on it. I think guys have I think the home run derby is just that. Go out there and just hit nukes. I mean, that's all it is. Like, to me, that is fun. It's like, look, it doesn't matter. The players have fun doing it. Yep. Like, even the guys that don't do well, it's like, oh man, I only hit 2. They're like, man, I'm in the home run derby and I only hit 2. They kind of laugh about it. Like, I should have done better than that. But like, to me, the home run derby is what it is. Just go up there and let it rip. And if you've never like swung a bat or tried to go all out, you don't appreciate it because people are like, they're just swinging a bat. Like, these dudes are going all out for like 2 and 3 minutes straight, just trying to hit the ball as far as they can. Like, it'll wear you out.
Yes, and the better you are at it, the more and the momentum of hitting the home runs kind of keep your energy going. Because once they start hitting them, Kevin, they go. It's like once they get that rhythm, all right, boom, 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 boom. It's like, dude,
and it's not just that for hitting them. It's how far can I hit this thing?
I mean, some of those things, you'll go, geez, like that. Has it landed yet? Nah, dude. Like I hit that. I got under that thing. It should be fun though. I think the home run derby. Shout out to a guy like Ronald Acuna Jr. who be blessing us, not just as the leading vote getter, but in that home run derby. Yeah. Take that, BJ Bennett.
Yeah, looking forward to that coming up on Monday. We'll come back. Media days next week for the SEC. The Big 12 media days going on this week. Mike Gundy had a couple interesting things to say, and I want to get to that when we come back, because obviously the Big 12 commissioner yesterday is like, hey, we're open for business, i.e. we're looking for more teams. And Mike Gundy had a couple of things to say about that, and as it pertains to recruiting and kind of some of the downfalls of expansion. I want to get to that when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Braves and Nationals coming up later tonight. But we got conference media days have gotten started. The Big 12 going on. They're the first to kind of bust it out here, Ben, as they kind of address all the conference expansion, all the who's leaving, how does it shape the conference, we're open for business, all that kind of stuff, as conference expansion is going to continue to talk, because whether the SEC says they're good at 16, people are going to keep asking Notre Dame what they want to do. And people are going to look at the Pac-12 and Big 12 and say, you got to at least do something, right? I mean, if you're the Big 12, do you want to add more to go to 16? That'd be 4 more. If you're the Pac-12, I mean, who do you add at this point to try to get yourself back up there? Will be interesting to see at the end of the day. But they're going to keep getting asked about this. But the Pac-12 or the Big 12 having their media days, and we talk about expansion, Ben, and Mike Gundy was asked about this, yesterday, and we asked about this, with the SEC expansion, said, what are you willing to give up? And Mike Gundy, said this, somebody said, what happens to Bedlam when Oklahoma dips? This is what he said.
Well, the future in Bedlam is a year or two left. I mean, that's the future of Bedlam, based on somebody else's decision. Recruiting for us hasn't really changed a lot. It's interesting with young people now. I'm not sure. You might be able to take a poll of the top 250, 300 recruits in the country and ask them if they know. For example, you could throw out what conference is Purdue in, or what conference is Wake Forest in. And I would say there's about a 50% chance they might not even know what the conference is. Young people live in certain worlds today, and essentially they want to know what you as a university and athletic department, as a football team and a coach, can do for them. That's what they're interested in. So other than that, our recruiting hasn't really changed since the conference realignment.
So that's Mike Gundy. A couple of things I wanted to break down there, Ben. First, he said, look, we've got a couple years left of Bedlam. And then he kind of threw that backhanded jab as based on someone else's decision. Well, whose decision was that, Mike? Oklahoma's. So, yeah, that's one of the things that's apparently going to go by the wayside. And then, Ben, he talked about recruit, because I think this is an interesting point he made, because a lot of people hear what he said secondly when he was asked about recruiting after that and say, come on. But Ben, it's been my experience that unless you're just completely dialed in as a high school athlete to the college football landscape, and you're just a Uber fan and not on your phone with your friends, or when the game's over on Friday night, you go out with your friends, Saturday you're doing this, you're doing that. That's not an absurd comment that Mike Gundy said, where he said, look, half the guys don't know what conference these schools are in. They just know, hey, I feel like I can get the best opportunity here, and that's where I'm going. SEC, Big 12, they don't care. They don't, not that they don't care, they don't know the difference between what conferences they're in.
No, he makes a really, really good point, but Kevin, but he's also being disingenuous. He used Purdue and wait for. Come on, man. He had to dig deep. You saw what he was doing, right? Whoa, let me not say nobody who they know.
Well, I'm just saying, but I mean, okay.
He does make a strong point, because Kevin, I will say this though. He said Oklahoma State recruiting hasn't changed. He's not lying. Why? Because you're Oklahoma State. The problem is the rest of the Big 12. Well, I can't really speak for them. Why? Because I'm fixing to get ready to be a headliner. Because with these other two guys leaving, but Mike Gundy understand. But what he said about they want to see what you're gonna do for them. Absolutely. Like, how can you help me, aka my brand, aka me get to the league or whatever, and with NILs and things of that nature. Mike Gundy did say, I like how he said, you see how he didn't use their names, or somebody else decided, that they don't want to be here anymore, or the decision that they made. But I can guarantee you this: if Oklahoma State was a part of that package, they will be going to the SEC too. See, then sometimes, Kevin, it's sometimes because Oklahoma State is a big brand.
That is a byproduct of expansion. We talked about this wherever we talked with SEC folks. You're like, hey, you got to have the Iron Bowl. You got to have there's a great in-state rivalry. Oklahoma State. Doesn't matter if it's in Stillwater or or Norman.
Norman, yeah.
It's a huge environment, huge game. Done. Not going to play anymore.
And
Only
Kevin,
coming back. But then Texas A&M and Texas is only coming back
yeah,
because they're coming to the SEC. Otherwise, I mean, that's been pretty much done. So
Yeah.
you get this expansion, you lose stuff like that. And, I thought Mike Gundy was pretty keen. It's done. You got about 2 years left. Enjoy it. And we're just not going to play him anymore.
yeah, and Kevin, when we started thinking about what in the college football landscape, what is and isn't important, sometimes it's as simple as, can we keep the band together? If we can keep what you mean? Well, they keep Texas and Oklahoma together. I mean, the Red River rivalry was so big to where, hey, we're gonna bring them over together, and we're gonna do that. We're gonna do it in Big 12 country. It's just SEC country now. So same game in the same stadium, same venue. We don't got to switch nothing. Oh, we just got to switch the logos. Not the Sooner logo and the Longhorn logo. No, you got to switch the conference logo. Yeah, see right there on that field, they got to say SEC. And to me, that's what the SEC is doing. They're taking the biggest brands to add to their already biggest brand out there. So individually, yes, they winning on the individual level, on the collective level, on the eye test level, on the power level, on the perception level, Kevin, and programming. Because once again, what are you gonna watch? What are you gonna watch in a couple of years? Oklahoma State versus TCU. That's gonna be a knockdown draw out. Or
It could be.
Or Kevin, think about this: Texas versus anybody in the SEC not named Vanderbilt. Oklahoma versus anybody in the SEC not named. Because think about it: Texas, Florida, Texas, Georgia.
I don't know. Hey, Ben, I heard a rumor that Vanderbilt's the new Kansas. So
Hey, listen. Now here's the thing, though.
Texas.
Listen, I will say this: What if Vanderbilt do tell Texas? Hey, Texas, listen, we'll take that from Oklahoma. Y'all are in no position to be talking trash. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, Kevin, it's like Vanderbilt will say, "Hey,
that's
what
funny.
if Vanderbilt does upset a Texas? Is that an upset?" Once they come to the SEC, we'll see. we will see. But
that will be hilarious.
Hey, Mike, I will say this though.
Hear the end of it for sure.
And Mike Gundy does make a really, really good point. He understands that most players, student athletes, don't know about conferences like that unless they just throw it at you like that.
Sure.
That's where branding comes in. But Mike Gundy is also being disingenuous because he represents one of those brands that could walk in any young man's living room. It's Oklahoma State Cowboys. All right. Hey, coach. Yeah. Where you coach at? Baylor. Where is that at? It's in Texas. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? So Kevin, at the end of the day, you know what Oklahoma State has never been, even with the old Big 12 or the new little Big 12, a bottom feeder. They've never been that.
And Mike Gundy had something else to say because he was asked. I thought this was interesting kind of comment. I guess it's something he had to say, but about the Big 12 and their future of the Big 12. And this is what Mike Gundy had to say.
I don't think there's any question as this moves forward that the Big 12 conference is in tremendous position. And I said this after we acquired the 4 teams that came in, and I don't need to go through the detail of each one of them, but if you look at the geographical television opportunities that they bring to the table, the number of viewers based on their location, the success they've had in football, they give us different time zones. They give us success and viewership. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. I mean, this is a power struggle for long-term television money. And the Big 12 is better off today than it was at this time last year. And as I said earlier, I think that we have fantastic leadership. We've got the right people in place. I'm convinced that they'll come up with a plan, and the Big 12 will be here to stay for a long time.
Okay, I don't know if he believes that.
Yeah. Kevin, once again, Kevin.
I get it. You added 4 teams, and you could say, okay, well, at least we added 4 teams in reaction to pretty quickly. But I don't think there's a straight, other than you could say, hey, maybe our conference feels solvent for now. I don't think with a straight face, you could say we're in a better shape now than we were when Texas and Oklahoma announced that they were dipping. There's no way. There's no way you believe that. And then you follow that up and say, I believe they'll come up with a plan. Well, no, you'd be in better shape if they had a plan already in place to say this. Now, are they in better shape than the Pac 12? Okay. I'll probably hear that. But then there's no way you believe the conference, the Big 12, just by adding what? Houston, Cincinnati, Central Florida, that they're in better shape than they were with Oklahoma and Texas staying in there.
My goodness, see, Mike Gundy gonna show you. See, Kevin, once again, right?
You have
Once
to
again.
say that.
No, he did. Well, come on now. You're losing your cash cows. I get it, and Kevin. This is the Live Tour versus the PGA again. All right, we got the ones taking the money. They going over there. I'm sticking with right here. Let's think about Mike Gundy though. Mike Gundy better be an Oklahoma State Cowboy head coach for the long haul. Because if he vote for the SEC, see, that's what people don't be thinking is, I get it, man. I got to say the right thing. This is who I represent. But in one breath, you say because of where we get to go as far as like eyes, geographic location. Okay, what? Cincinnati versus Oklahoma, UCF, man. So, like I said, he's saying the right things. But in the same breath, hey, man, I trust our plan. Well, you just talked about the plan. You just talked about it. Let's be honest with ourselves. If you could have gotten USC, right, and UCLA, you would have. But you couldn't. Think about that. You couldn't get them. So, Kevin, like at the end of the day, when you represent a brand, when you represent a conference, and right now, I'm the biggest. Take nothing away from Venables and coach, and obviously, Sarkisian, they about to leave. I'm the biggest coach they got right now. So now what I say, I kind of like to let the other coach, this is gonna be our talking points today, fellas. Like let's be a unified front. But come on, Mike Gundy. Like come on, man. Like because Kevin, you see, this is the thing, right? You've been in media long enough. I always say this. I said, if a media personality or media journalist, whomever, if they're listening to an answer, look at their facial expressions. They're telling you what they're like, what? And then it's because Kevin, when he said, oh, yeah, listen, do I think you get different eyes? Yes. Do I think, the locations? Yes. But we're in better shape now. What kind of shape has Cleveland been in since LeBron left? Oh, that's right. They out of shape. They got a dad bod. They don't do anything. Stop that, man. My goodness. Because Kevin, at the end of the day, he's just overdoing it.
No, yeah, but I thought it was interesting that he made some of those comments there at Big 12 Media Days. Obviously, I think the conference is in better shape than it was if you just say they were out. Hey, Oklahoma and Texas are out. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Okay, we had a 14. Okay. We're in better shape than just saying we were left with 10 and not knowing what to do. I get that part. But to say you're in better shape, period, I don't know about that. We got more to come. SEC Media Days waiting in the wings as well. Wonder how many times they'll say we're in great shape.
We're open for business.
Yeah, the SEC, we are open for business. Oh, we're not accepting new customers, but we are open for business. Cha-ching. We got more to come. 3 and Out from the Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. We'll hear from Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, coming up in hour number 2. We'll ask him about the SEC Media Days next week, also the Big 12, and they're kind of front and center right now. Ben, so again, SEC going to be front and center. Very interested to see what they have to say after a lot of reports that, hey, we're good. We're good. 16, at least for now.
Kevin, at the end of the day, I just hope that Greg Sankey understands that he might as well drink a lot of Gatorade because he's gonna be getting asked a lot of questions. But hey, he's used to the spotlight.
We'll come back. We'll talk more about that. Take 3 around the corner. Chris Gordy next hour as well. It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Hour 2 here on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, he has been Troop. Glad you are with us. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, going to join us coming up in just a little bit. We'll look ahead to SEC Media Days next week. A lot of storylines going on there as well. So looking forward to that. Ben, we'll get to that coming up here on the show. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, Ben, take 1. As we get ready for the All-Star break. Is there anyone in sports today that is comparable to Shohei Ohtani?
Wow. I mean, a guy like that just like, maybe, I'm just saying, just because you ain't never seen nothing like him, maybe a Tom Brady. Because the thing about this, Kevin, because it's the thing, Kevin, Ohtani, he's getting voted into the All-Star game, right? As a pitcher, right? And an outfielder, like both. Like he's balling. The reason why I say is there are certain guys I ain't never seen Ohtani. I don't know where this dude come from. I don't know how he out genetic pool. The reason why I say Tom Brady is Tom Brady defies everything you know about a sport. Longevity, durability, productivity, and he's outdoing everybody. So I think that for me, it is a Tom Brady because Tom Brady is defined it from a longevity standpoint of, dude, he's still 40-something, 50 touchdown, just ridiculous stuff in the midst of the Mahomes. So I say it is a Tom Brady because while it ain't the championships, because that's a collective thing, but what he means and what he does, when he's striking guys out, I'm like, what in these dudes? He's looking at dudes like, yep, and I could go in the outfield if they needed me to. Like if they needed me to go out there. So for me, Kevin, I would go with Tom Brady because I ain't never seen a lot of football, never seen nothing like Tom Brady. Never.
Yeah, I thought about this because you're really what you're seeing with Ohtani. There have been other guys that have tried, but nobody that succeeded like Ohtani has done, and you haven't seen anything like what Ohtani's doing since Babe Ruth. And obviously nobody alive today can say they saw a prime Babe Ruth.
Yes.
And if you did, you got to be up there like 106 or something. I'm just being serious.
Yeah.
If you saw prime Babe Ruth, you would be like 106. So I look at it and say, who have we seen that just doesn't make any sense? And I think the closest that I could even think to come up with would be like a LeBron. And not because you say, well, LeBron's not better than Michael Jordan. I'm not saying that. Is Ohtani the best player in the major leagues? I think you could debate that. But he's doing things that nobody has done for 100 years.
Yes.
I think LeBron James, and again, I'm not saying he's better. I think Michael Jordan, all-time favorite player. But LeBron James in his prime, and I know he's still playing now, 18 years up in.
Yeah, get ready to be at 20.
But if you want to go back to like when LeBron James is really peak LeBron James, you could shoot like Kobe. You could be dominant around the rim like Shaq. You could defend like Kobe and Michael Jordan and some of those guys. People don't think, because you see some of the clips now of LeBron, like, just go. Like in his early 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, he was an elite defender in the NBA as well. So, and to see a guy that big, 6'8", as big and physical as he was, you just hadn't seen anybody. Like Michael Jordan was big. He wasn't that big.
Michael Jordan was tall. He wasn't big. He wasn't big.
Yeah. LeBron is tall and big.
And Kevin, and once again, let us. We have to do all these pre-qualifiers. We are not saying that Ohtani is LeBron. What we're saying is, we've seen so much of one sport to have a guy do something that you've never seen. Like he's in a class all by himself. Back in the day, when Bo Jackson, Mike and
but I'll put this a level over Bo Jackson. Only because Bo Jackson didn't pitch.
I will say this. As far as like freakish athletes, like just freakish, Deion, Bo Jackson, right? A LeBron. What happens is when LeBron is doing it and he's going to the year 20, when Ohtani is doing it, he's saying, look, all right, if I just was a pitcher, I'm still one of the best. If I just was an outfit, I'm still one of the best. And I listen, as a hitter, it's laughable. When I get to that plate, What I do to pitchers is laughable. I'm going, and the thing is, and I got Mike Trout right there who can't do. Mike Trout is the creme de la creme, but Mike Trout plays the position he grew up playing, and which is incredible, and he's a great hitter. Ohtani is a pitcher, like not a fill-in. Like he could be a headliner on any team he's on. I could be the guy. So yeah, Kevin, he's rare. It's very, very rare coming. It's hard, Kevin. You've seen enough baseball to say. When people say, I ain't never seen a guy like this, think about how rare that state. I ain't never seen nothing like this.
Yeah.
Never.
No,
So,
I mean, I look at it with Shohei Ohtani, and I say, look, given the specialization of the sport, where we look at guys, who are the top guys? Max Fried, Max Scherzer, who pitch. They pitch 1 day a week, and then you won't let them do anything else. We protect pitchers so much, we had to go universal DH. Why? Because, well, nobody wants to see them hit, and we don't want them hitting, right? That's the attitude of baseball at large. We don't want them hitting. They need to work on pitching once every 5th day. Well, Ohtani does that. I looked at over his last 40 days in Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani's ERA is sub 50. Now, I don't mean like 5-0, like 0.50. It is sub that. He's hitting 280 something. Like with 8 homers, like it just doesn't. You don't do that in Major League Baseball. And people say, well, we'll never see anything like this again. I heard somebody on Twitter say this, like, you will never see anything like Ohtani again. And my only response to that is that's because baseball won't let it happen.
Yes.
If you can dot 100 on the corner like Ohtani can, they don't want you to swing a bat. If you can hit bombs and have a lead arm and play defense, they don't want to waste their time teaching you how to pitch.
No.
Go play right field and hit bombs. Baseball won't let Shohei Ohtani happen again. I think there's guys that could do it, but if you got a 97 plus mile an hour fastball, somebody along the way is going to tell you, son, put that bat down and go worry about that.
I got to say this too, though, Kevin. Hold on. Don't even breeze past that point. Do you that even adds even more to showing you how great he is? Because you do know when it comes to sports, their job is to protect you for what you do best. Like, no, and people go, well, it's not so. Like, is he a better pitcher than hitter? I don't know. What do you mean? Like, he is exceptional at both, like exceptional. And because he's so exceptional, we cannot allow him to not do it. Think about that. The same guy that ran out there as a starter on Monday might be running out there as an outfielder on Wednesday. It's like it's some crazy stuff. But once again, there are certain times, Kevin, that you have a rarity. I remember when Spud Webb was in the dunk contest. I'm like, Spud Webb dunking? And when he started dunking, I'm like, where is? I'm telling you, he is rare. Whatever nickname you want to give Ohtani, give it to him because he's earned it. Beast, a creature, a goblin, a goon, whatever. Because like you say, Kevin, pitchers don't hit. I mean, batters, they fear him. You can't hit off of him, and you don't want to throw to him. That's some crazy stuff, man. That's some crazy stuff.
Rare indeed. Moving along, take two, Ben. Lamar Jackson and Bernard Pollard going back and forth on Twitter. I know you saw that.
Yeah.
Kind of talking about how bad each one is and or was.
Yeah.
I know as a former athlete, I will ask you this. Do you like athletes going at each other on Twitter? Is that good?
Yes, as long as you keep it about the sport. Yeah, because I think too often at times, Kevin, we always got to feel as though we got to play nice. No. I can talk trash. Listen. Bernard Pollard don't think that Lamar Jackson is a top 10 quarterback. He thinks he says, quote, top 10 athlete, not top 10 quarterback, because there are a bunch of receivers, top 10 receivers, who don't want to play with Lamar Jackson because they don't think he can make the throws. Bernard Pollard won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. Bernard Pollard, good player, man. Good player. I think second round pick. But this is the thing. If Lamar Jackson isn't a top 10 quarterback, yeah. Outside of Brady, outside of Mahomes, outside of Rodgers, yeah. Who outside of Watson, maybe Josh Allen, okay. Who you think Dak's better than him? Like, see, what Bernard Pollard has done, though, right? He makes sure that anybody who didn't know about Lamar, because controversy sells people now, right?
Sure.
Like criticism sells. And I don't think Bernard Pollard is coming from, let me say this, right? It's well within Bernard Pollard's, he's privy to say that. Or people say, oh my God, he said, no. we Kevin, we talk about athletes for a living. So if I don't think he's top 10, I don't think he's top 10. Cool. But show me 9 players. No, show me 5 or 6 players at the quarterback position better than Lamar. Don't give me numbers. Don't give me he threw for a bunch of yards. Well, that's Justin Herbert. Oh man, he was able to be. He put up a bunch of numbers on America's team. That's Dak Prescott. That don't mean he's better than Lamar Jackson. So I just think that Bernard Pollard got more people talking about Lamar, was going to drive his dollars up again, was going to get those jersey sales up. But when they do, if they have the 2016, whatever team it was that won the Super Bowl, Bernard, please just go up to him. But I like it, Kevin. Listen, as long as we keeping it about sport, you start talking about me personally and all this other kind of stuff, hey man, you can see me face to face. That, AKA that Draymond, that stuff he said about Perk, I'm not gonna get into it. But stuff like that, when my fists go from this to this, you can come holler at me, man. Because you don't gotta do that. You don't gotta do that. But as long as we keep it in sport, Kevin, nobody or nothing is off limits.
All right, Ben, moving along. Take 3. We love the holidays. Today is National Mac and Cheese Day. So settle the debate because it's listed at a lot of restaurants in the South. Is mac and cheese a vegetable?
It better be. And that's
And
the
a
only
hot
way I'm
dog
eating
is a sandwich. Is mac and cheese a vegetable?
It better be, because that's the only way I'm eating my vegetables. So, yeah. I mean, listen. Mac and cheese is a vegetable, just like cereal is soup. It's just cold soup. Shut up. That's how I eat my. No, Kevin. I mean, I will say this. When it comes to mac and cheese, Kevin, I know we was talking about the noodles that you use for mac and cheese and different stuff earlier. Look, Kevin, I know your sons don't like mac and cheese.
They don't.
They won't eat it.
You're weird.
They won't eat it. But at the end but outside of 2 people on the planet Earth that won't eat mac and cheese, this is a great day to celebrate. It is a beautiful day to celebrate. But Kevin, but let's go ahead and do this. Velveeta is not mac and cheese, right?
Actually, don't they call themselves cheese sauce?
Yeah. To the cheese sauce people that make the mac and cheese in the sauce, and then you pour that into the souffle and you put the cheese on. No, stop being lazy. I'm just saying, no. Come on, man. Boil the noodles. Put your cheese in there with whatever. Stir it all up. This is mac and cheese. We don't play around with this. And Kevin, I don't know who introduced your little ones to mac and cheese. They just don't like it. Hey, maybe they'll grow out of it. It happens, right?
Yeah, taste buds change, but right now they could care less about it.
At the end of the day, mac and cheese is a staple. Mac and cheese is, if we was doing top foods, it's gonna make it to the round of 16. I see it being a Sweet 16 type entry. Because Kevin, this thing about mac and cheese, right? We don't eat it enough. Like if you've ever had real good stuff, some real good mac and cheese. Oh my goodness, man! Shout out! Listen,
yeah, real good mac and cheese you can eat every day, but the the knockoff low grade stuff, no, I can't do that.
Oh no, listen,
it's got to be high level or nothing at all.
Listen. If you eat mac and cheese out of a box, you better be a child. You better be I'm just saying.
I understand. That's take 3. We do it each and every day at this time. Had to go National Mac and Cheese Day because we do the national days a lot here on Take 3. It was also National Nude Day.
What?
I didn't know if you knew that. Today is National Nude Day. So people who are nudists.
It should be called National You Don't Want to See This Day.
Oh, no, yeah, it's National Nude Day. All the nudists get to celebrate. In an ironic twist, though, today also National Tape Measure Day. Not making that up.
Y'all couldn't see Kevin. For those of you who can see Kevin's face, you'll see why I was laughing.
There's some people that might think this day should be.
We picked the right one. Out of all the ones we could have, we picked the National Mac and Cheese because the other 2. Get yourself together real fast.
National Nude Day coinciding with Tape Measure Day. It's gonna be an awful lot of disappointed people. That's all I gotta say. We'll come back. It's 3 and Out. Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
Mm-hmm.
Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you are making us a part of your day. Conference Media Days going off next week. Big 12 actually going on this week as we kind of get the unofficial start to the college football season. And joining us here on the program, host of the Locked On SEC podcast, Chris Gordy, joins us. Chris, welcome. How are you?
Hey, doing good, guys. Thanks.
Hey, appreciate you coming on. Full disclosure, Chris, you live in Texas, right? Just wanted to ask you quickly about Big 12 Media Days. Mike Gundy's like, hey, we're in better shape than we were this time a year ago. What do you make of all that's happened at the Big 12 with the we're open for business proclamation and all that's happened there with that conference here the last couple of days?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I mean, it seems like the Big 12 might actually be in pretty good shape compared to others like the Pac-12 and maybe the ACC if they end up losing some teams here, jumping ship and all that. Like the Big 12 has a plan. They've got all their other teams remaining, losing Texas and Oklahoma. They're adding pretty 4 strong teams in Houston, BYU, Cincinnati, and UCF. And, their new commissioner coming over from the Barclays Center in New Jersey coming in and saying, hey, we're open to new ideas. We want to be youthful. We want to relate to new age of players and NIL deals and recruits and all this. And, yeah, we're open for business. We'd be looking to add any other programs that would be interested. So I thought it was kind of refreshing where it felt like the SEC was making all the big moves and everybody else is grabbing a life vest just trying to stay afloat. I think the Big 12 is in a pretty good spot. I mean, look, they're not going to be on the level of an SEC or a Big 10 if the Big 10 keeps adding more teams, but I think the Big 12 is in a pretty good spot. But I thought Mike Gundy made a pretty good point, too, kind of saying, like, hey, we're having these meetings and, closed-door meetings talking about our future and all this with the conference. Texas and Oklahoma, why are you guys still here? I know you're still in the conference, but, like, we're making plans for the future and stuff. You guys don't need to be a part of these conversations. So it is kind of that awkward one foot in, one foot out for Oklahoma and Texas right now.
And Chris, even dealing with what Mike Gundy was saying, he was talking about geographic location because that's what a conference like the Big 12 is going to be doing, real similar to the Big 10. Do you think geographic location matters? SEC obviously they're gonna stick to their guns, not named until you add Texas, Oklahoma, and you already got Missouri. But do you think geographic location has ever mattered when it came to college football?
I mean, to me, it should matter. I mean, the whole idea of having a conference is having teams that are relatively close by. That's how you create rivalries. I don't know what kind of rivalry you're going to get going from Rutgers in New Jersey out to UCLA, Los Angeles. That'll never be a rivalry in the Big Ten. So I think geography matters. Look, the reality is Norman, Oklahoma is not a very far drive west of Fayetteville, Arkansas. It's not a crazy drive from College Station out to Austin, Texas. So Texas and Oklahoma are still very much in the SEC footprint in terms of, viability and proximity to all the other schools. What I get out of shape is when I start hearing people saying, well, the SEC should look into Oregon. Why? Like, I get you've got Nike and all the money and all that. Just say it makes sense money-wise. I mean, that's really what a lot of these moves are. But I think common sense has to play into this, and geography has to make sense. I mean, I have some buddies who used to work on the equipment truck for LSU, and I'll never forget years ago when LSU went to play a game up in Washington back in the Jake Locker days when Sark was coaching there. I mean, they had to leave on like a Monday afternoon to get out there, get all the equipment and everything packed up, and have the all the shoulder pads and workout equipment and everything out there by the time for Saturday's kickoff. So I just can't imagine what they're thinking at Rutgers, and all the schools on the East Coast in the Big Ten. Yeah, we're going to have to go play UCLA or USC. I mean, you're going to have to pack up everything on a Monday and leave and try to get all the equipment there. It just, to me, that's a big part of this. I know people are like, oh, well, the money won't matter and all this kind of stuff, but all that stuff should matter.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, joining us. And Chris, to that end, saw the Big 12 commissioner yesterday and all the things that they said. Someone asked him about Texas and Oklahoma leaving early. He's like, hey, as long as it makes sense for us, i.e. money, what's the payoff? I mean, what's the buy me out figure to make the Big 12 say maybe those teams leave a little bit earlier, and with USC and UCLA going a year before those two, at least at this point, is there a pay me off number that the Big 12 has in mind that could have Texas and Oklahoma in the SEC sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I haven't figured out all the dollars and cents. I know that's all for the lawyers and people to figure out. But in my opinion, I've been saying this for the longest. I think 2024 is when everything switches. It's not going to be 2025. I think it's going to make most sense for Oklahoma and Texas to get out of this thing. And look, we already know that and BYU and Cincinnati and UCF are coming over to the Big 12 next summer. That's already been announced next July. So, I think the wheels are in motion here. Nobody wants to wait for 2025. I mean, take Mike Gundy's, quotes yesterday. You're already having scorned lover syndrome. Like, why is she here? Why is my ex-wife here? That kind of thing. So I would say 2024. I'm starting to think 2023 would be a little too hard to make it happen, but I think it's probably best for both sides. The Big 12's got their new teams coming in next year. They'll do 1 year of Oklahoma and Texas, one more year of Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12, and then say, all right, let's be done with this.
Chris, obviously, we a couple of days from the SEC Media Days was going to take center stage. I mean, the biggest names, but the most powerful man in college sports, right? Greg Sankey is going to be on that podium. He's going to get drilled. If you're there and you ask him, hey, are you guys sticking with the NCAA if and when this college football playoff expansion does not indeed happen come after 2025?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what Sankey says. I do appreciate Greg Sankey in one realm that he is very open. He every year at Media Days, he comes around Radio Row. He'll do interviews with every radio station that's there. He speaks on the podium for a long time. He gives as much access as just about any commissioner in any college football league. Now, on the flip side of that, he doesn't say very much from a standpoint of he's very close to the vest. Last year, the day the news came out that, Brent Zorneman of the Houston Chronicle report that A&M and Texas were coming to the Big 12, all he kept saying was, I have no comment on that. Guys, we're always looking to expand, but I have no comment on that. So, even the day when that news broke, he wasn't, he was still playing it close to the vest. I'll be curious to see. I mean, he's still a little bit of the old school mindset with a lot of stuff. I know he's made comments in recent years about, hey, these kids already get a scholarship and room and board. Why do they need, why do they need to be paid with NIL stuff and all that? So he's a little bit more of the old school thinking, but I'll be curious to see what he has to say about conference expansion more and certainly playoff expansion because, he's kind of made comments here in recent years that were, he thinks 4 is good because the SEC gets 2 in. And then he's made other comments saying he'd be open to expansion. So I'll be curious to see what he has to say this time around. And obviously with Oklahoma and Texas coming, it's going to make it much more difficult to get into the field. So I would think he might be open to adding more teams. But as far as expansion goes for the conference, I do like some of the reports that have come out this past week that maybe the SEC sits tight at 16 because, look, I think at 16, as the SEC currently constructed with Texas and Oklahoma, you're already the strongest league, and I don't care what the Big Ten does. Big Ten could go add Clemson and Notre Dame or whoever they want, and the SEC is still going to be the most dominant conference with the teams that they currently have.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, joining us. Who's the headliner next week at SEC Media Days? Who's the one guy you want to hear from there at the SEC Media Days next week?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Will Anderson and Bryce Young from Alabama. Bryce, obviously the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. Will Anderson, a lot of people think has a good chance to maybe win the Heisman this year. If he has another crazy sack total with 17.5 last year, if he gets even close to that this year, I think a lot of people might consider him. So those are the two guys. And then if you look at all the early mock drafts, I mean, it's Will Anderson and Bryce Young going top 3 in the NFL draft next year. So I think those two guys are kind of your headliners, but I'm excited about a lot of the quarterbacks that are going. I mean, obviously, KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, Anthony Richardson at Florida, Stetson Bennett at Georgia, and then Will Levis at Kentucky, another guy who some of the people have mock drafts going top 10 in next year's NFL draft. So we'll be curious to see what a lot of the quarterbacks have to say. And then some of the other schools that have quarterback battles still going on. I want to hear from Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly and Brian Harsin on where they are with their quarterback battles, because there's some really important jobs up for grabs, and how these things shake out, I really do think that this is going to be a strong year for quarterback play in the SEC. So those are kind of the headliners. And then Tank Bigsby, I think, has a chance to be the best running back in the SEC this year. Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama, I think, will give him a little bit of run for his money, and A-Chain at A&M is going to be really good as well. But excited to see Tank Bigsby there, and I think this is a really, really good field. Although I do have to admit, when I looked at a couple of guys who were coming from Missouri, I had to go Google their names because they didn't jump off the page at me. But a lot of star power at the SEC Media Days this year.
Chris, when you think about the SEC Media Days, and obviously, I mean, the guys like Billy Napier, Brian Kelly, they've had their introductory press conference in Baton Rouge and Gainesville, but now they get to introduce themselves to the world in a sense. How much do these type of platforms and venues help guys like Billy Napier and Brian Kelly? Brian Kelly probably a little more than Billy Napier to say, look, this is what you can expect from LSU and Florida football, and hey man, this is what you can expect from me as a head coach.
Yeah, I would fully expect Brian Kelly to crack a couple jokes because he's really like he's all about business. You know, when you talk to Brian Kelly, he's a very serious guy, but he can make jokes from time to time. I would expect him to crack a joke or two from the get-go about mispronouncing family or something like that, make fun of the Southern accent thing. But I'm also curious to see what Lane Kiffin's going to say about the NIL deal because he's the one, you remember a year ago, made the headlines when somebody brought up Bryce Young making $1 million NIL deal. He was kind of like, he pulled a Ron Burgundy. He was like, really? Wow, I'm not even mad. That's impressive. I mean, that was his reaction when he found out, Bryce Young was getting $1 million. So I'll be curious to see what Lane Kiffin says on the NIL stuff and just kind of how they've rebuilt through the portal. But it's a good parallel with Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin this year. Both of these rosters, this LSU and Ole Miss roster, are both going to look completely different from where they were a year ago because both those guys have taken advantage of the transfer portal so much. So a lot of new faces, a lot of guys coming in via the portal, both at Ole Miss and LSU. And, I grew Brian Kelly also in with Billy Napier of Florida, two guys that are coming into this conference. Obviously, Kelly's got a few more skins on the wall, winning, big time at Notre Dame. Billy Napier doing it at Louisiana, but two guys that are coming into the conference, jumping in head first. And, expectations, you get a pass kind of in year one in the SEC, but you kind of don't, right? Like if Billy Napier goes 6-6, the natives in Gainesville aren't going to be very happy about that. With Brian Kelly, I'm hearing some LSU fans saying 8-9 wins this year. So, look, both those guys have big expectations to live up to, but we've learned, the NFL has always been the not-for-long league. The SEC is the not-for-long league. You better come in here and, by year two, you better start winning, as Brian Harson's going to find out this year very quickly. If he doesn't turn this thing around at Auburn, they're going to have him on the hot seat on the way out.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, joining us. Chris, finally, you mentioned NIL there with Lane Kiffin. How much of that, because expansion is kind of taken over the talking points, gets brought back up at the SEC Media Days this week, given that, Saban and Jimbo had their back and forth? You've had coaches come out and say, hey, I need this much. I think Billy Napier said it in Florida. Hey, I need, $13 million set aside to keep these guys on campus. Like, how much of that do you, when all these coaches claim ignorance and have numbers set aside at the same time, how much of that he's like, how much do you know about the NIL, coach, and what's going on in your program?
Well, it's a fine line, right? Because we put the stupid rule in there that you can't use NIL as a factor in recruiting. You can't use it as a sweeten the pot on trying to get recruits. But the reality is, and we saw it a few weeks ago with the viral video from A&M, where one of their assistant coaches or grad assistants is giving a tour to recruits and saying, hey, look, you see all those suites up there? You come here, those are the people that'll be, wanting to give you money. And it's like, well, from one aspect, yeah, is that a violation of this? Can't use it as an inducement? Sure. But on the flip side, once you commit to A&M, if there's been no promises made, you're going to get presented with NIL opportunities because they have a hungry fan base with a lot of money that wants to take care of their players and make them happy while they're there. So it's a weird thing where it's like, yes, this is happening, but we can't really admit to it because of this stupid rule they put in that you can't use it as an inducement. It's happening. It's always happened. You guys saw the movie Blue Chips. This has been going on for decades and decades. It's just this like don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. And that's why we're going to have coaches up there saying, kind of in denial and sidestepping things and going, none of our players get paid to come here. Once they get here, then they get NIL opportunities and all this stupid stuff. I just wish one coach would be honest. And look, I think there's ways to say it. You can get up there and say, look, all I know is this. We have a great fan base that supports us very well, a great alumni base that makes a lot of money, and they'd love to support our players with great marketing opportunities. I think there's ways to say it without connecting the dots and saying, yeah, we offered this player a big NIL deal, and that's how we got him.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, our guest here on 3 and Out. Chris, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime.
Appreciate it. Chris Gordy joining us here. Going to be a wild time in Atlanta next week at SEC Media Days. Ben, we'll come back. We'll talk more about some of that at SEC Media Days next week when we turn to 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here. SEC Media Day is coming up next week. Ben, as we chatted with Chris Gordy, their last segment going to be going on in Atlanta. He talked about NIL, and with as much a deal as has been made about NIL and guaranteed, contracts to coaches and things of that nature. We talk about the prayer. I mean, Jimbo Fisher, I was thinking about this, Ben. If he doesn't finish at least second in the West, I'm not saying, again, I think beating Alabama twice in 2 years in a row is going to be tough. Beating Alabama, going to Atlanta, even under other circumstances. Last year you beat Alabama, still didn't go. Going to be tough. If he doesn't, with LSU, new coach, Auburn's kind of in a little bit of turmoil. Sam Pittman's got a good squad. I think new quarterback, obviously, there at Ole Miss in Jackson Dart. But, if he doesn't finish second, is he on the flaming hot seat at the end of the day there at Texas A&M, getting a huge contract, talking about, getting the number one recruiting class, standing up to Nick Saban. We don't buy our players, that kind of stuff. If he doesn't finish second at least, how hot is that seat?
Ooh, it's gonna be smoking hot, Kevin, and I think it might already be, because the thing about it is, Jimbo Fisher up until now has not lived up to that 10-year, $75 million fully guaranteed contract that he signed coming from Florida State, and I think he's renegotiated since then. That number one recruiting class means that the alumni, that the boosters, the fans, they're doing their part as far as like helping you get the number one class. You tell us this now. You made a declaration back in 2021 that we're going to kick their and you did it. You beat them. This year, outside of going back and forth with Nick Saban, you ain't saying much about what you're going to do on the field. You just said, hey, man, we got the number one recruiting class. Well, Kevin, at a certain point, you talk about all the time, we can have the segment, return on investment. What am I getting? Because you said, give you this. One, you started the guaranteed contracts with coaches. That got started by you. You left Florida State because they could not pay you the money that you got. Check, you go to Texas A&M, they're the number 2 team in the country as far as like revenue generating schools, right behind Texas. Problem is, Texas ain't been Texas in a long time. Outside of making a bunch of money, they don't do much else. Screaming, we're back all the time. I think Kevin, yes, he's gonna have to, and not just be second, Kevin, but make it questionable. Like not just be second because the rest of the division just had a down year, but be like, hey, man, we had a shot to beat Bama, or we had a shot to go to Atlanta, because Texas A&M is one of those teams that is good enough. They got the resources, they got the coaches, they got the players, they got the infrastructure, they got the money to compete for national championships. Now, before you even start talking about that highest team standing, you gotta win the West and go to Atlanta.
I was just saying, can we start with Atlanta first?
But Kevin, you know this though, right? The highest level of naive fans, whether it's good, right, wrong, and different, is SEC fans, because in their mind, we're a coach away, got him. We're a quarterback away, got him. We just got to get no recruiting class, got him. And Kevin Devontae, we beat Bama last year. This setting up. You know who beat Bama? Their first year as a player, that was Bo Nix. What happened after that? When beat him as a true freshman, people think, oh, here comes Auburn. Nope. Auburn has got a new coach, 2 new coordinators, a coach that they don't really want who's coming back this year. It's a mess.
And Bo Nix is in Oregon. And Bo Nix.
Yeah. So I do agree with you. Jimbo Fisher, right now, Kevin, it's a place called Jimbo's Steakhouse. And that smell coming from that steakhouse is, woo, it is nice. Problem is, they ain't got no steaks for sale. What do you mean? Well, we're not selling anything. Like, we want to give you that aroma. Problem is, it's right across the street from Saban Steakhouse. And that line is out the dope. Because they selling steak. Because like you say, all the sizzle right now is going on right in College Station. But you better put something on this plate. Because, Kevin, you know just like I know, I'm not giving you my money. Now they're giving him money for the players. It's cool that you're getting your money. You a coach. You're going to get yours.
Now he elevated the status quo with Texas A&M, but you haven't gone to Atlanta. I think in the West right now, it's you and Ole Miss that haven't gone to Atlanta to play for the SEC championship. Ole Miss has been in the SEC a lot longer. You have been, since you got there, you have upgraded the program. No, there's no question. I think there's no question. However, you still haven't gotten to Atlanta. Even during the Saban year, Auburn's figured out how to get there.
Yep.
LSU's figured out how to get there. I mean, again,
Yep.
I'm not saying it's happening every year,
Yep.
but you haven't done it yet. So I think that to me is that before you start talking about, I'm going to bring a national champion. Now, if you win the SEC national championship, is obviously right there within your grasp. We've seen that from the conference. But if you're Jimbo Fisher, I think you got to get to Atlanta sooner rather than later. And I don't know when that's going to happen because we heard it 100 times last year at this exact moment, Ben. We had folks on.
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy about going?
You better do it now. And only one team did it, or two teams did it. Georgia Tech. That's it. And that was in quote, "You better get them now" year. Now we're in 2022 when people think they're going to be loaded to the gills. If you're Jimbo, I think you got to figure out a way to get to Atlanta, however, whatever it takes at this point. Otherwise, I think that seat's getting turned up. Like, we didn't ask you if it was hard.
Yep.
We didn't ask you, but Nick, nope. You're going back and forth with Nick talking about we got better players than you do.
Well, Kevin, and the thing is too, right? When you think about the West, if you are Brian Kelly, hey man, they want a natty. Why? Because Coach O, Les, and Nick Saban got us one. You see what's going on in Georgia and Alabama right now. They are the barometers. Think about Billy Napier, right? You know what people ain't telling Billy Napier? You know what the last two coaches did in Florida? They both went to Atlanta. Jim McElwain went to back-to-back year. Now, the East wasn't what it is now, but he went. He went. And guess what? Dan Mullen went and played Alabama pretty freaking good. So that go to pressure for him. I think this is the thing. Texas A&M, we never seen y'all in Atlanta. Outside of SC Media Days, y'all don't come to Atlanta. So I do think, Kevin, when you start thinking about the fact they're going to start saying, hey, who's good enough to go to Atlanta? Texas A&M, right? Yeah. LSU, Auburn, yeah. Alabama, yeah. Well, last time Texas A&M, but they ain't never been. Really? Never. So I do think that the pressure is there. It should be there. Jimbo Fisher, hey, man, at the end of the day, Kevin, you cashing them checks. And, man, pretty soon, man, you're going to have to open up them doors to good old, Jimbo Steakhouse, man. We tired of walking around with that smoke coming out that chimney. We're gonna have to get some of that. Hopefully, but he knows it, Kevin, because guess what? He talking now. Used to just play, don't say nothing.
Yeah.
You can talk trash to the fans when he walking out saying stuff like, come in my face with a 6'9" bodyguard standing in front of him. But now he's saying stuff like, hey, man, number one recruiting class, talking about beating Alabama. Kevin, it's time to put up. Because now Texas A&M go, hey, I don't want to hear no more to talk. I need to see the product.
100%. And I think that'll be interesting to see if he gets some of that questioning at SEC Media Days coming up next week. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We're streaming live ESPNCoastal.com, also on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Braves and Nationals coming up a little bit later tonight as they begin a 4-game series in DC ahead of the All-Star break. And we'll have that for you coming up in just a little bit. Has been college football with media days going on. We'll talk more about that coming up in the final hour of the program. Also, you got the Open Championship. Tiger with a rough go of it, and what could be his last Open Championship there. I think at last check he was +5 on the front 9 today, and obviously a tough go. So we'll see how he shapes up tomorrow. And when we come back on the flip side, Ben, NFL teams normally don't get to experiment with stuff, but they're doing it. I'll tell you about some of those coming up next hour. I think you've seen some of them. We won't let the cat
Don't let the
out of the bag, as it were.
We'll see. Tiger Woods, hey man. Throughout the time is undefeated. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Hey, look.
It's rough, Kevin. I'm just saying.
I'm saying I know everybody wants to see Tiger do well, but it's one of those things where do you want to watch Tiger, but you don't want to watch Tiger when he's out there looking like the 200th guy out there.
Tiger
People will say that it's like, hey, I like Tom Brady, but I don't want to see Tom Brady out there looking like Case Keenum.
You ain't lying. That's Sabretooth out there. That ain't Tiger Woods. That's Sabretooth. Our old Christian O'Carroll, we remember Christian ain't talked to us about Tiger since that Masters. No. I ain't gonna say nothing else.
Sabretooth doesn't wear red on Sundays. He doesn't make it to Sunday. Sorry, I apologize, Tiger. That was out of line. I'm sorry. We'll come back on that. I'm sorry. We'll come back. It's 3 and Out. Final hour around the corner to lead you up to Braves and Nationals all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Thursday. He has been Troop. I am Kevin Thomas. Glad you are with us. Braves and Nationals coming up. We'll have coverage for you starting at 5:50 as the final 4 games before the All-Star break are upon us. So we'll have that. It'll be Charlie Morton against former Brave Anibal Sanchez, who's making his season debut there for the Washington Nationals. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. Also, a big week upcoming in Atlanta for the SEC Media Days next week. We'll get to that as well. But Ben, you're obviously a former NFL guy. NFL letting teams get a little more creative. I know sometimes they get stodgy. It's like, you're wearing different socks. We're going to fine you 10 grand because you're not looking right. Don't change anything on the uniform. You only have 1 stripe on the sleeve. You need to have 2. But apparently this year, a bunch of teams going with alternates. The Bengals teasing, saying, hey, we're going with the white Bengal Tiger unis. I don't know if that's going to be all white all the way down, but the helmet, orange with the stripes, going to be white.
Silky.
Bengal Tiger. You like it?
Silky. Oh, I just saw Joe Burrow.
I guess it's a little different thing. It just looks weird.
Because Kevin, this is what I'm saying. As long as look, the white when they're doing it with the full unit, that's nice. Like that's because they're not trying to do too much. Like they're not trying to like Kevin.
You're not trying to have 13 shades of blue like your Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Shout out to the two-tone blue, that two-tone blue up there. But that's the thing. But that's the difference, right? Like the Bengals are one of the core teams when you think about old USFL, AF, all that kind of stuff. The thing about the Titans is the Titans are real similar to the Texans. The Titans the Titans will come out with a powder blue helmet, a dark blue helmet, a light blue helmet, a white helmet. They can't make up their mind. They really can't make up their mind. But the Bengals doing the white helmets are nice. Like when they say things like the Texans gonna break out a red helmet, who cares? Who cares what color helmet the Texans break out?
That one actually looks okay. I think they should just stick with that.
Now the Falcons going with the red helmet, Kevin. I mean, okay, but this is the thing, Kevin. This is what bothers me about going back to the red helmets. If you stink, it doesn't matter that you're going to a nice helmet. Let's call it what it is. Like you're gonna go to that stuff. The paint, Kevin. How you?
I think all these are, I think, just for one game. But I mean, I think you should make a regular thing of some of these. Why not?
You should because I think some like this. You know what this is defying to the color rush. Remember the color rush here, Kevin? Remember on Thursday night we all had to watch that monstrosity of the Smurfs, aka the Titans, versus the Mustards, aka the Jets. That was awful. Better laugh if I got to watch it. So yes, I do think some of these things, like the Browns with a white helmet, if they got Deshaun Watson, it matters. If they don't, who cares? But I think the Bengals with the white helmet is going to be nice. What the Saints going with a black helmet, something like that. I mean, I like it, Kevin, because like I said, we got every team in the NFL, just like in the MLB, just like in the NBA, just like in the NHL. Most of them are just fillers; they're not headliners. So just give us something to look forward to with the red helmets with the Falcons and the white helmets with the Browns and Cincinnati. You talk about the Patriots going back. You know what I'm saying? With the Saints going back to black helmets. So I like it. It just gives us once again.
These are just one game things. So
yeah, they're not. The National Football League, we're not really talking about them, because what's getting dominated by them? College football, media days. College football is among us. And like I said, Kevin, I don't know. What if they let prime college football games be played on a Sunday versus the NFL? Oh, they're not going to mess up the money like that, are they?
No.
Come on, we're not going to do that.
I did see this. I got because I asked PJ and Christian about this right after second down was over. And apparently this is, I thought it was just fans talking, but I did see a few blue check marks and guys who were running. Apparently the Browns are at least teasing the idea that they're going to do a white helmet. And I'm like, but you're the Browns. Your helmet is already not brown. And you're going to wear a white helmet for what exactly? I like, there's certain teams that there's certain teams I get it. Even in the NFL, as you said, you're the Titans. You don't have enough tradition to be saying, I'm all stodgy about my uniform, right? Like,
they don't.
Hey,
no.
You are the Houston Texans. The last thing anybody cares about is if you are, quote, non-traditional.
Yeah.
You know who does get get to say that? The Raiders, the Packers. They get to tell the NFL, we're not wearing a black helmet, NFL. We're not doing that stuff. We are the Raiders. Silver and black.
And notice he said it right. It is silver and black, people, not the other way around.
I get it, but look, like certain teams, you get to do this. Like you're the Cleveland Browns. You've been around, even in the second iteration, you've been around for a while. Why? What's the deal with the white helmet? Just don't even do it. How about we, win some games, and then we can start going a little bit crazy. But I saw that, and somebody did a mock. I'm like, it just doesn't look right. You're the only team in the NFL with no logo on your helmet. You're the Browns, and you wear orange and white. And now you want a white helmet. Like nothing about Cleveland makes sense.
Nothing.
Like, give me the old school. Like now, I did see some concept art of the Browns with a brown helmet and the orange stripe. And I'm like, all right, I could dig that.
All right.
I actually am one of the few people that like the orange with the brown look that the Browns have. Like I
like the orange with the brown. I like it.
Like I just think I don't know why. I know a lot of people think they're gross, but I mean, everybody else is kind of the same. Orange and brown. It's not really something that goes together a lot. So I dig it.
It's not something you're gonna see a whole lot either. You're not gonna see orange and brown, unless it's like Halloween or something, like decorative stuff. What? Like you're not, or Thanksgiving. Like, what?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I mean, no one has ever said,
the colors of fall.
Brown. Let me get the chocolate brown suit with the jack-o'-lantern orange tie. No one's gonna say that. But Kevin, this is the thing, right? To the listen, the Browns, leave it alone. Like you're gonna look ridiculous with a white helmet for what? Like for what?
I just think there's some teams that, to me, don't try to do too much. I know everybody wants to get a new look and a fresh look, but to me, like when the Green Bay Packers did their weird stuff, it just looked ridiculous. Like don't mess with it. It's already good. You don't need to mess with it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, when they come out there looking with the orange and or the yellow and black stripes,
like bumblebees.
The bumblebee uniform. What? You're trying too hard, Pittsburgh. Like, don't do it.
You don't gotta do it.
I don't care if
the mere fact that the Buffalo Bills color rush was an all-white uniform. You look like the Giants. Your color rush should have, I don't know, color in it. But anyway, yes, when it comes to certain teams, Green Bay, leave it alone. Like if San Francisco was wearing all white, they got their I call them their candy cane uniform, like the white with the red numbers, and they want to do a white helmet for that game. That's fine. But the Browns, your helmet should never change colors, right? Never. People talking about the Houston Texans going to come out with the red helmet. Doesn't matter. I mean, the Houston Texans, they're wear all red, all blue, all white. They wear a different color every year. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the Houston Texans wear. But Kevin's favorite uniform is plain Jane. It's the Colts. Keep it simple.
No, I do love the Colts. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why you hate the Colts.
I don't hate the Colts. I'm just that Kevin goes, don't give me all this color crap.
Give me a
white uniform with blue numbers, white socks, and let's do it.
Looks good. Like I'm telling you. Like back in the day before Ben killed it, the college football game, I enjoyed playing with Kentucky because they had the blue with the white helmets, the blue UK on it. It looked nice. And then you needed $50 and the whole game went away.
Simplicity goes a long way, people. I'm telling you.
But Ben, redemption is but a year away because in July next year, we should have a new college football video game. So,
and I'm only getting one for the whole office, and I'm gonna give it to Kevin. It's gonna be at Kevin's house. I'm not getting everybody to hey, yeah, man, make mine out too. But hell no. I'm gonna give it to Kevin, and then it's gonna go to Kevin's house.
There you go.
Y'all can go over there, and Kevin goes, if I'm not home, don't knock on my door. You hear me?
Even if I am at home, don't knock on my door.
Kevin, what?
Who is
you
this?
home? Yes. Can I come in? No. All right. See you tomorrow. All right.
Kevin is not here. Sounds an awful lot like he's not here.
They said I went to Kevin's house and Kevin got this thing that'll talk to you on the other side. Yeah, that's called him. What? Yeah, that's called him. He's talking
Sounds just like him. It's unbelievable. Technology today. But no,
Kevin has a clone. Yeah. He has a twin.
I just thought it was interesting that normally the NFL is pretty don't want to get too far out there. And now you've got half the teams, Bengals with white helmets, Falcons mean, that's kind of a throwback for them. But the Saints going with a black helmet that they've never worn for one game this year. Texans with the red. I mean, so letting teams change it up. Why
Yeah.
not? Why not?
All right, NFL. I
I
mean,
think
I
as long
like.
as
I
you
mean,
wear the traditional
Bengals do look the best though. I just seen Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow wearing that all white. It did look pretty smooth with the little Bengal stripes.
I don't mind. Like, I don't mind changing it up as long as you wear the traditional enough,
Yeah.
and you don't
Like
come out
don't
there
don't be like don't be like Oregon finally make it to the national championship and wear no color that has anything to do with your school.
or,
Nothing.
or like Georgia's done it a few times. Like when they played Florida, and you're like, that doesn't even look like them. Like with the black helmet with the red face mask, you're like,
Oh yeah, they try to do too much.
if I have to do a double take to guess who you are, then you're doing too much.
Yes,
You're doing too much.
When Oklahoma do they like ain't it like it's like a cream and like a garnet like uniform? You don't gotta do all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks
when,
like
when Notre Dame do they look green jersey? You don't
yeah.
gotta do
See,
all
Notre Dame don't do that at all. Just wear what you wear. You're Notre Dame, much like the Yankees. You don't celebrate league championship. You don't celebrate winning the wild card.
that.
Notre Dame, you don't need to put green jerseys on. Like you're Notre Dame. Don't do
Aaron
it.
Judge that was popping bottles when they got that playing game.
Hey, we're moving on.
Ain't won a World Series since 2009. Just so y'all know, 2009.
Yeah. Stop celebrating the wild cards. You're the Yankees. You know who celebrates winning the wild cards? The Baltimore Orioles, the Texas Rangers, the Anaheim Angels. Those are the teams that get to do that kind of stuff because they never go.
No,
You're the Yankees. We'll come back. We got more. We're talking SEC football. On the flip side, it's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Oh, man, great to be here on this Thursday. Braves and Nats coming up in just a little bit. We'll have full coverage for you as they try to finish the first half on a positive note over these next 4 days. Tough ones with the Mets, but if you can beat up on the last place at Nationals next 4 days, maybe a chance to be a game and a half or 2 games out here at the All-Star break. Put you in good shape for the home stretch. But Ben, SEC Media Days next week. We've talked a lot about Kirby and Nick and NIL and all that. Or Jimbo and Nick, excuse me. But what about Kirby Smart? Can you pull off a repeat? Because Kirby has, I think, obviously went out to change the narrative at Georgia, which he did. He said, I'm taking what I learned from Nick Saban at Alabama, and I'm going to put it in to practice at Georgia. I know when he first said that, people were like, why do we want to be like, I know they win, but why can't we just be Georgia? And we went like, but he did what needed to be done. It's like, I'm going to run Georgia like Alabama. And look where it got him. I got him a national championship. Now he's in that next level of coaches who have a national championship. And Ben, you and I talk about this all the time with, Les Miles and, Urban Meyer and guys like that moving on from the coaching profession, at least at this point. You've only got like 5 guys that have a national championship. You got Nick Saban, you got Jimbo Fisher, you got Dabo, you got Kirby, and then people forget about Mac Brown over there at North Carolina. Outside of that, unless I'm forgetting one, that's the list.
That's it.
Whole list in college football right now. So you are in an exclusive club. Can you get the Dogs there to repeat or at least into the playoffs? Because I know he lost a lot to the National Football League, and we say it all the time. Nick Saban makes it look easy, and what he's doing is just ridiculously stupid. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Can Kirby get his team back into the national championship game in back-to-back seasons?
I'm going to say no, not because I don't think he doesn't have the infrastructure, the players, coaches, and scheme, Kevin. It's just hard to do, right? It's just extremely hard to do it. Look at what it took for him to just win the national championship. I mean, you had to go up against the same team that beat you the first time around in the SEC championship to then come back. You had to go against those guys again in the national championship. But, and having 2 of your receivers down, Denver does help. Stetson Bennett became a legend. That defense was legendary. But old St. Nick don't lose often. When I say, I'm talking about Nick Saban. You got, not arguing, you got the 2 best players returning in football and offensive defense: Bryce Young, Will Anderson. So I started thinking about when you start thinking about how good of a team Georgia can be. I think they're going to be really, really good.
You got a hot take, Ben?
Yeah, we got a hot take right here.
Okay.
So hold on. So basically, this is Deuce, by the way. So basically what it is, though, Kevin, just like I know when it comes to a guy like Kirby Smart is, they're going to be well coached. They're going to be a team that's going to go out there and compete week in and week out. The problem is, you're not necessarily competing against the teams of your division. Can you beat Alabama on a neutral field? Can you beat Ohio State on a neutral field? Because can you beat Clemson if they have a resurgence? And to me, that's why I think they're not going to win it 2 years in a row. Not because they don't meet the infrastructure. I mean, Kevin, the Clemson runs, right? A guy like Deshaun Watson had to play Alabama twice in the national championship, twice, and outplayed them and only won 1. Trevor Lawrence only won 1 against Alabama, right? And then once again, it's like Alabama is that barometer. I don't think it's nobody outside of Alabama, but Ohio State meets the talent threshold. And I think that a team like Clemson, if they can have a resurgence, but can he do it? Yes. Will he do it? No, because while he's learned from the master in Nick Saban did 2 things in 2021 that will not happen in 2022. He lost to 2 of his assistants, 2. He lost to Jimbo and he lost to Kirby. That's not happening. So I see Georgia still being the top dog, no pun intended, in the East. But back-to-back, Kevin, you know how extremely difficult that is. Nick Saban, I think, has done it once, but it's extremely to get back to the top of that mountain 2 years in a row.
You got to play, and I think Georgia did this last year. And Ben, we don't normally say that about a lot of teams, but you have to play to that level every week, right? You have to be that team every week. As the defending national champion, I don't care if you're playing Vanderbilt, Tennessee, maybe you have to play to that level. Why? Because you're going to get everybody's best shot. And I know Vanderbilt's best shot is not the same
as
Alabama, but if you're Tennessee, here's the difference. if you're Tennessee, you're going to get their best shot.
Yeah.
But they also, in the back of their mind, think they can compete with you.
Yeah.
Florida, maybe that's part of the Billy Napier, job as a head coach. But Florida thinks they can compete, and it's Georgia and Florida, and that's a huge game. So you're going to get the best every single week, and you got to play to that level. I think last year, Ben, we saw Georgia do something that I don't even know that the Clemson teams did, even some of the great Alabama teams did. And that's for 15 weeks. They played at a extremely high level. You can say, well, what about the SEC championship? I mean, I think they just got beat. They played at an extremely high level, I thought, in the SEC championship game. They just got beat. Sometimes that happens. And I think that's what you're talking about, Ben, that, look, it's hard to just roll everybody. But I think last year for 15 weeks, Georgia played at an extremely high championship. They didn't have one of those games where, even with Clemson or Nick Saban, Alabama, where you go, dang, man, they played Vanderbilt, and it was 28-10. Yeah, they won by 18 points, but it was a sloppy effort, and they just didn't have that. They kicked Vanderbilt in the teeth. Again, Florida gave them a game for about a quarter and a half, and then Georgia beat the brakes off of them. They did not have a game where you said, boy, they just played like garbage this week. They brought pressure is a privilege, played a championship. I think Kirby got his team to do that for 15 games last year. And again, that is hard to do. I heard Christian and PJ talking about this. Hey, they kind of got disappointed with the Braves yesterday. They got down early, maybe hung their head, kind of just gave up and let it go. I mean, baseball guys will tell you, it's hard to bring it 162 days a year at your peak. Georgia, I thought, brought it peak level 15 weeks. I mean, name a game where you're like, they brought their C effort and still got it done. No, I think they brought their A effort a lot. That's why Stetson and all them were out of the game at halftime a lot. And even with the Alabama runs, Clemson would have their traditional game with Syracuse. Hell, it's coming down to the fourth quarter. It's getting hairy. They didn't have any of those games.
No,
not in the regular season.
They had 4 or 5 shutouts last year. No, Kevin, this is the thing, right? Every single national championship team, you can go back 10 years, 15 years. Look at the talent level on all those teams. Every last one of them. I don't care if it's an Alabama team. I don't care if it's Auburn. I don't care if it's LSU, Georgia, Florida, whomever, Ohio State. These teams were incredible. And a lot of things got to go your way. Like, I know you had an incredible season. And I am not taking nothing away from Georgia's national championship. Both of the starting receivers from Alabama goes down. That helps, right? That's like going to a game without Brock Bowers for a guy like Stetson Bennett. So, yes, Kevin, 2021 Georgia was incredible. But the thing about it is if Georgia got better, don't you think Alabama got better? Don't you think Ohio State got better? Don't you think?
For sure.
So the teams that are good enough to beat you, that meet the talent threshold, they got better. Alabama, the 2 best players in the country are coming back. Georgia has a lot of their players coming back, but Nakobe Dean, gone. Jordan Davis, gone. Travon Walker, gone. 5 guys on defense. Ballers, gone. Now, you're going to be able to replace them, but we're talking about that level of production. And like I say, Kevin, at the end of the day, Georgia's one of those teams. I mean, Kirby Smart is under a lot of scrutiny because now, Kevin, he finally slayed the dragon. You won it. Now, Georgia fans can be like, all right, now let's do what Alabama's doing. Whoa. Like, pump your brakes. We 2 years removed from Patrick Mahomes playing in the Super Bowl, and everybody was saying that Patrick Mahomes beats Tom Brady. Has he submitted? Has he jumped over him and say he's the GOAT? Hell no. What? Man, what do we come on? We need to stop this. Like, we really do. Nick Saban is the GOAT. No, and it's going to be hard to cement him for what he's already done. But I just think, Kevin, for a guy like Kirby Smart, he learned from the best. He wanted to play against him, and he got it done. Now, he ran the gauntlet like everybody did. Dabo had to run it. Coach O had to run it. Urban Meyer had to run it. You know what everybody got in common? Some kind of way you got to deal with Nick. Either in the college football playoff or the national championship or the SEC championship. So if you can't beat those boys with Tuscaloosa, it don't matter. You go all the way back to when Urban Meyer had to win his national championships in Florida. Who he had to beat? Alabama. It's been going back that long. So I think Kirby can do it. But Kevin, that defense was historic last year. They're gonna be good this year, but I don't see them being able to do that what they did last year.
And again, that's a hard thing to do, as you said. Bring that level every single day when everybody's been telling you how good you are, and hey, there's nobody's going to touch you till you get to the playoffs. Well, I mean, I know Kirby can be in there saying, guys, you can't think that way, but everybody they run across is going to be like, oh, y'all are about to win. Y'all are about to beat Oregon by 20, right? I mean, that's what you're going to hear. So I thought he did a tremendous job of doing that. Can he pull off that for 2 years in a row? We'll have to wait and see. Ben, one other thing I want to ask you, who do you think is positioned for a big surprise? I think last year it was Tennessee. I think some people foresaw that happening. A lot of people were skeptical and said, can you hurry up and have it work? Because if it doesn't, you're going to be bad, right? You're going to be bad. Your defense is not good, but Tennessee fought through. I think had a tremendous season. Is there a team that you think is kind of quietly poised to have a really good season? Again, not saying they're going to contend, but kind of pull that Tennessee, that Arkansas out of a hat where you go, man, I thought they'd be better, but they were really good.
Kentucky. Because the thing about it is, Kevin, isn't it crazy? Every year, right? We talk about the same team, right? Tennessee's making a resurgence. What is Florida going to do? Georgia's the top dog. You go over to the West. Oh, it's Alabama. Oh, how is LSU going to do? Can Texas A&M kind of show and prove? And what can an Ole Miss do? Well, you know what Kentucky does? They compete. See, they compete the way only Kentucky can, though. They're not competing to win the East because they can't beat Georgia. But now they saying, all right, because now we got a running game and a passing game, right? Like, I think sometimes, Kevin, when you talk about Mark Stoops, he's never gonna get, the love that he should, the appreciation that he should, because they're gonna say, oh, it's just an outlier. See, you already knew that Kentucky was gonna do two things: run the football, play good defense. Now they can throw the football with a guy like Will Levis. So I think that Kentucky is poised. But if, and this is a strong if Spencer Rattler is who we think he can be, if he is who we think he can be, South Carolina can be good, Kevin, because I just know that, Kevin, when it comes to baseball, you need starting pitching. BJ has won me over. Okay, you need starting pitching. In football, to win and win consistently, you got to have really, really good quarterback play. That's even if you got a really, really good run game. You need good quarterback play. So if Spencer Rattler can be who we think he can be and bring his talent to the SEC East and not run away from the competition and really be able to go out there and show what he wasn't able to do with a team, with a coach like with Coach Beamer's offense, I think they can be dangerous, Kevin, because just like Auburn, hey, when there is no expectation, we can go out there and ball. Ain't no expectation for us. South Carolina is picked to be okay. They ain't looking to be world beaters, but if Spencer Rattler could be as good as advertised, they got a shot to go out there. Once again, I'm not talking about beating Georgia. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm saying everybody else. Spencer Rattler get to come to the Swamp, right? South Carolina beat the brakes off Florida. That was not a game with no Spencer Rattler. Because, Kevin, that's what it's going to be about this year. If Beamer Ball didn't care about quarterback play, what he getting Spencer Rattler for? He wants some of that quarterback action. He sees what a quarterback does. See what he does for Tennessee? You look at what Stetson doing. Obviously, Bryce Young is a Heisman Trophy, winner last year. He wants some of that, and let's see, because last year he had a freaking coach playing quarterback, right? I want to see what a quarterback can do playing quarterback, but give me Kentucky 1 and a South Carolina a very, very close 2.
It is 3 and Out on this Thursday, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, thanks for making us a part of your day. Braves and Nationals coming up in just a little bit. It will be Kyle Wright and Anibal Sanchez, former Atlanta Brave. Anibal Sanchez against Kyle Wright, who's got 10 wins for the Atlanta Braves. And again, you're playing a last place Washington Nationals team heading into the All-Star break. Ben, trying to finish up on a positive note.
Kevin, at the end of the day, this Braves team understand the assignment at hand. Yes, you didn't get you didn't have the performance that you wanted to have against this Mets team, but give the Mets a lot of credit for coming in, playing some very, very inspired baseball. But going up against the worst team in your division, I think it should help you get back to your winning ways, boost some confidence, get ready for the All-Star game. But Kevin, once again, you post All-Star baseball for teams that matter and divisions that matter, it's going to be about as exciting as it gets. 12 games left with this vaunted Mets team down the stretch. It's going to be a fight to the finish. That's how you would like it. I mean, give the Mets a lot of credit. They know to be able to deal with this Braves team. Obviously, putting distance between you and them ain't enough. So maybe you just all you got is trying to play them head to head. But I think this Braves team going to bounce back real nice. And I think getting some guys back off of injury down the stretch is going to help as well.
Yeah, again, this Nationals team, you'd like to see them win at least 2 of these 4 heading into the All-Star break, finish up. That would put you at, 32-12 over the last 44 ball games heading into the All-Star break. That's a good note to go in on. You want to ride a little momentum. And then, as you said, coming out of the All-Star break, you got the Angels right out of the gate who are struggling, but you're still going to see Shohei. You're still going to see, Mike Trout coming right out of the All-Star break. And as you said, post All-Star break, you're going to have, about 10, 11 days to the trade deadline. So you got to make some decisions if you're Alex Anthopoulos. Is there a rabbit in the hat like you found last year coming down the stretch? Do you need a rabbit in the hat with Kirby Yates and guys like that should be coming back from the injured list? Ozzie Albies expected back maybe first part of September. Do you need to make a whole bunch of moves? A lot of weighing. Of course, last year we were talking about weighing. Are you in it? Or are you giving up? Right? Do you think you can win it? Or are you giving up? They went in and said, we think we can get it done, and they did. This year, I think it's, am I making a move unnecessarily given who I'm going to get back and given right now your proximity to the Mets in the standings, which is just 2.5 games, that ain't much.
Now, Kevin, the one thing you always tell me is this, which, I mean, it's a part of business. I'm not talking about core. Is there a tradable piece currently on the Braves that maybe can get you 2 guys? I'm not saying core, but the Braves, there are other teams saying, hey, Braves, you give us this, we'll give you that.
I think if you're looking to maybe get somebody salary dumping, I would say, hey, Marcell Ozuna's on an expiring contract. Do you want him for the rest of the year in exchange for some salary you may not want? I.e. a good player that you don't want to pay him. I think that, to me, could be a move. If Robinson Cano plays well, I mean, that's the problem. You got to have him for another month till Ozzie gets back.
Mm-hmm.
Arcia maybe, if he continues to do okay, might he get you a little something? Could he get you a reliever? I don't know if him by himself is enough just to get you a big deal. But I think Marcell Ozuna might be a guy's like, hey, here's a power bat. Maybe you could trade Ozuna to a team that's close and say, hey, you're an AL East team who says, look, it's a tight division. Here's a guy that has power in his bat. He can DH for you. What do you got? Do you have an outfielder that we can take in exchange for a 2-month rental, basically? We'll give you Marcell Ozuna's a 2-month rental. His contract will be up after that. Can he push you a la Jorge Soler to the finish line in your division? I think he might be the most, quote, tradable piece because I'm not moving Dansby. I'm not moving Riley.
Nothing core.
Everything. 8 of the 9 spots on the field out there, to me, you're not doing much with. I think it's left field. Marcell Ozuna is about all, to me, that I'm willing to part with right now because I'm in it. I'm in it for the wild card. I'm in it for the division. I'm not willing to give up much more than that. But I think if you're going to trade somebody that has value, I think Marcell Ozuna might be the guy that has value that you actually want to part with because you could sell it to a team as, hey, here's a guy that's got some pop in his bat. He can DH for you and maybe be that missing bat in your lineup to push you to the finish.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the one thing I do know is when it comes to the trade deadline, you either want to be real active or not at all. You don't want to just be throwing stuff out there just to get something back. But because of what Alex Anthopoulos has shown, he's definitely earned the trust of everybody in the organization. Definitely Snit. So I was just saying, is there somebody you go because you can never have enough. You can never have enough pitching. I've learned that definitely. Starters is one thing, but a bullpen piece is another thing. And Marcell Ozuna, while they love to have him, he wasn't a part of that World Series team last year. He was able to come back this year. Could he be somebody that can help, potentially bring another piece in? Only problem is you got to get a team to pick up that contract.
Well, but again, Marcell Ozuna is only till the end of the year, so you may not have to eat that much. They may not have to eat that much, and you're really, I think, trying to get rid of Marcell. Again, I think the Braves don't mind him being on the team, but I think long term he's not in the long-term plans of the Braves. You're looking to, and I think, again, if they could have, I think they would have moved him before the season started if they could have. But again, he didn't really play in 2021. So that was another challenge thrown in front of them there from that standpoint. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC Podcast. Join us. We're going to hand you off to the Braves. Getting ready for a 4-gamer with the Washington Nationals. Kyle Wright and Anibal Sanchez, the pitching matchup this evening. Braves trying to get back on their winning ways against the last place Nationals, and they are last place by a lot. So got to take advantage, beat up on them while you can. We will see you tomorrow for a Friday edition of 3 and Out. If you missed any of the show, ESPNCoastal.com. Go to our YouTube page, ESPN Coastal on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow on 3 and Out. Braves and Nationals coming up next.